All right. Welcome back, everybody, to day 12 of Foundations of Programming. Today, we're going to start LemonadeStand.py. I know a couple of you guys have already started. We see here our buddy Daniel. But we're going to take the first hour and a half of today's class to give this an honest try. And then after the first hour and a half, we'll come back, reconvene, and then we'll tackle each method at a time. So this should be a pretty quick video for anybody watching. We're going to pause the recording. Welcome back, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So bear with me. I am struggling right now. I will try my best to get through this assignment. If you have any questions at any point, please ask away so I can answer them as they come. We're gonna go through the eliminate stand.py. And this will be the last thing we do. You might have noticed that I did drop a problem in the FOP chat. So if you want to get some additional work with classes and objects, definitely check out that problem. This is the test file. Okay. Let me get situated. Okay. So here's my lemonade stand.py. Let me go ahead and open it up to the side. And let's take it one step at a time. So from the top, right? Um, the assessment and honestly everything else that you're gonna do, it's gonna be really well formatted, right? We're not gonna just throw you to a deep end and tell you, good luck. So if you read your document, your readmes from top to bottom, you'll typically be told exactly what we're asking from you guys. All right, so the one thing I just saw a lot through most of you guys is you guys weren't really reading the questions or what it was asking of you. So make sure you understand what they're asking of you uh, before you start writing some code. If it helps, right? If maybe the question or the assignment or whatever it's asking you to do, it's very complex. It's a bunch of wording and it confuses you. Write out some pseudocode. And I'll try my best to kind of replicate these practices to make sure you understand how you should really be engaging a problem like this, right? I'm gonna go ahead and create a new file. I talked to you guys about splitting your work, and I'm going to do the same thing here. It could be menu item.py. It's gonna be the first class that we're gonna be working with. All right, so we are gonna be writing code for recording the menu items in daily cells of LemonadeStand. It will have these classes: menu item, cells for day, and LemonadeStand. All data members of each class should be marked as private, a leading underscore in the name. Since they're private, if you need to access them from outside the class, you should do so via get or set methods. All right, pretty straightforward. The first class here that we have is menu item. So class of menu item, right? It represents a menu item to be offered for sale at the eliminate stand, which has three data members: a string for the item's name, a float for the item's wholesale cost, and a float for the item's selling price. If you read a little bit further, you would see how it's supposed to take these data members. The init method is going to take three parameters, right? Three parameters where it's going to be name, wholesale cost, and selling price. It's going to use that to initialize these data members. We're going to define init. We're going to be taking name, wholesale cost, and selling price. Then I'm going to go ahead and assign these to my data members. All right. And then next and finally should be a get method for each of the data members. So get name, get wholesale cost, and get selling price. I encourage you guys, don't give it your own personal names. If the assignment tells you to give it the name of get name, then that's what it should be, right? And the reason for that is because the test cases, if they're testing certain methods, right, they're going to be calling the method name. If you decide to be unique and you change the name to something that whatever you want to make it, you're gonna get error in that test, and you're gonna be wondering why is my test not working. So make sure if it tells you specifically, hey, create this method called total sales or whatever, you are calling it exactly that. So here's our get methods for get name. We're just returning self dot underscore name, get wholesale cost, return self dot underscore wholesale cost. Pretty straightforward, the menu item, right? This should represent whatever stuff we have in our menu, whether it's a cookie, lemonade, water, aguas frescas for my Hispanics out there, or whatever you want to do, right? So this is how we're going to organize our menu items, right? Um, our class just gives us some kind of container so we can create certain variables, which are data members, that share some kind of relevance to each other, and then get methods to get these informations. That's my menu item. Let's go ahead and move on to the sales for date. New file, sales for day dot pod. All right, my sales for day object represents the sales for a particular date, right? Think of it like a ledger, right? A ledger for a business. If you're running your own, family-run business, like in this case, a lemonade stand, right, a taqueria, whatever it may be, you want to keep track of what your sales are, right? In this ledger, you should be able to keep track of what day these sales were, and then everything you sold for that day, right? So that's where the sales for day is coming from. We're trying to replicate that ability. So it's supposed to take two data members, right? And then if you look here, the init method, it takes two parameters, the number of days in sales dictionary, and uses them to initialize the data members. The number of days is an integer for the number of days the scan has been open so far. So let's create our class, sales for day, our init method that takes in number of days and sales dictionary. Uh, 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 um, it doesn't necessarily say what to call it here, but I'm gonna call it day to not confuse me. Self.day for the sales record is gonna equal to number of days, and then we have self dot underscore sales um, dict is equal to sales dictionary. Now, the biggest thing I saw as well is that we were getting confused with the different data structures we have, right? Our data structures are our lists and our dictionaries. Our lists and our dictionaries are keeping track of different objects. So it's important that we know how to access our dictionaries and how the dictionaries or lists are essentially constructed. For example, this sales dictionary, um, we don't see it here. A dictionary, oh, here it is, whose keys are the names of items sold, right? So key, name of item, and then we're going to say value are the number of those items sold that day. Number of items sold, right? So if I any point have any questions on what exactly is being assigned to this dictionary, I can just come back up here and see it real quick. It's very important to understand how your dictionaries are structured, right? Because when you start working with different data types, classes, and objects, it can get very confusing. Finally, we're going to have our get method for get date and get sales dict. All right. And that takes care of my sales for date. Any questions so far? Cool. Let's go ahead and move on to the big boy, the lemonade stand itself. So here is my lemonade stand file.
Oh, I think is there also a get method for day as well as get sales?
Yes, I have get day and
Oh,
get
you have
sales.
both? I didn't see the first one. All right.
Uh, it's okay, but thank you for that. So next is gonna be our lemonade stand. Lemonade stand, remember that lemonade stand class will not directly access the private data members of menu item and self-related objects, but instead must call the appropriate get methods, right? And we've already established those. A lemonade stand object represents a lemonade stand, which has four data members. A string of the name of the stand, an integer representing the current day, a dictionary of menu item objects, right? A dictionary that's going to have menu item objects, where the keys are the names of the menu item, and the value is the menu item object itself. And finally, a list of cells for day objects. So I got two different data structures, dictionary and list, and both of these are going to have objects assigned to them as values. So let's do that. Let's create class lemonade. Then I'm going to define my init method. Now let's actually look how the init method is supposed to be broken up. The init method takes one parameter, the name of the stand. So I'm going to give it name of stand. It's going to initialize the name of that value. It's going to initialize the current date to 0. It's going to initialize the menu to an empty dictionary and initialize the sales record to an empty list. So the only argument I should be taking is just the name of the stand. So I should be able to say self dot underscore name is equal to name of stand. Next, I should have initialize the current date to 0. So by default, my current date when I create a lemonade stand should be 0, right? We don't give the option of adding the current day as an argument because when you first start up a business, right? Obviously you start at day 0. You don't magically have already been open for 10 days if you just open up a restaurant. So don't even give it the option to add a current day. We're going to start it at 0. All right, so we give this a default. After that, we have to initialize the menu to an empty dictionary. So I'm going to say self.menu is equal to an empty dictionary. Now, before I move on, how is this dictionary constructed? A dictionary of menu item objects where the keys are the names of the items and the values of the corresponding menu item objects. I'm going to say key, name of menu item, value, menu item, and let me actually write it like an object. So the name of the menu item, this is pretty much just a string, right? It's just a string of whatever this menu item is called. If it's lemonade, it's just the string of lemonade. Water, the string of water, and so on and so forth. So this is really just a string, but the value itself should be an object. Finally, we need to initialize the self record to an empty list. So let's do that. Self dot underscore sales record. That should be an empty list. Well, what's going to the empty list? A list of sales for day objects. This list of sales for day objects. All right? Pretty straightforward. Now, one thing I want to annotate or bring up is that you can add defaults, right? Just the same way that I added default in here, where I don't even give the option of adding an argument. It just sets current date to 0. What happens if I want to have a default name for all my lemonade stands? I could, in the argument, do something like this, where I, by default, give it the name of lemonade to the name of the stand. What this does, in the event that they don't want to give it a personalized name, they don't have to pass in an argument in here. It'll by default set it to lemonade, but it still gives you the option to override this, right? So when I create a lemonade stand object, let's say my stand is equal to lemonade stand, I could do this. Notice I don't get an error. Or I could say Rogers amazing lemonade stand. And I don't get an error either. So both of these are options, right? This gives it a default, so it falls back on something in the event we don't pass anything here, or you are able to override that and then give your personalized limited stand. So this is a way of doing things as well. It's not important to the assignment. I just want to make sure that you guys are tracking that. And then I can say that this is supposed to be a string to really specify here, whoever's creating the limited stand, that this is supposed to be a string. It's if you really want to. Now let's continue. We're supposed to have a get method for the name. So define get name, return self dot underscore name. Cool. All right, now we're getting to the meats and potatoes of this. The next method is going to be adding a menu item. All right, define add menu item. It takes as a parameter a menu item object. And because this is an added menu item, I'm gonna call it new menu item. That's really what it is, right? We're adding something to my menu, so it's gonna be a new menu item. I'm gonna specify here that's an object, so I'm aware of what it is, and I don't get confused. It takes as a parameter a menu item object and adds it to the menu dictionary. New items can be added to the menu on any day. So there's no restrictions here, right? This doesn't really limit me. It's just saying that it doesn't matter what the day is, I can add something in here. You might have it could have been something like you can only add menu items on the 7th day. If you had a restriction, you would check if self dot current day is divisible by 7 and is equal to 0, then you can add an object, right? So if I had a restriction about the day of when I can add something, then I would do a check. But because I have no restriction, I can just go ahead and add the item without anything stopping me. So I want to add it to the menu dictionary. So this is my menu dictionary. So I'm gonna say self dot underscore menu, and I'm gonna pass in this object in here. Well, how is this menu dictionary structured? I need to know that so I know how I'm supposed to add this object in it. It says that the key is the name of the menu item, and the value itself is the object. So to get the name of this object, I can take advantage of its get method. Right, my menu item object has a get method that's going to return to me the name. So here in the key, I'm going to say new menu item dot get name. It's going to run this function. It's going to assign to it whatever value it has in its name, and then the value of this key value pair for my menu is going to be the object itself. New menu item. Any questions? I see you guys use the self.menu.update. I don't use that, but you can. It's the same thing, right? New menu item dot get name. New menu item. Whatever helps you. If this is more readable to you, by all means. I like this. This tells me this is a key and this is a value. Whatever helps you understand it, there's no wrong answer. Now, something that you might have wanted to do is maybe check if the menu item already exists before you try to add something here. That's just me thinking ahead as a developer. Like, what if there's already an item that shares a similar name, but there might be something different, right? I might sell 2 types of hot Cheetos, but one might be hot fries, right? And one might be puffs. So, stuff like that you might have to like think about. But yeah, let's go and continue. Enter sales for today. Enter sales for today takes as a parameter a dictionary where the keys are names of items sold and the corresponding values of how many of the items were sold. See the example at the end of the read. Let me show you the code for that. If we scroll down, we can probably find right here. enter sales for today, it takes in a dictionary, day zero sales. Day zero sales is a dictionary where it has lemonade with 5 as a count and cookie with a count of 2, right? So the way that this is working essentially is when I'm running my stand, I'm keeping some kind of log of what I'm selling, right? A little piece of paper. I sold lemonades. How many I sold? I just annotate that. Cookies, annotate that. Now my day has come to an end. Now that my day has come to an end, it's time to update my sales record with the final count of what I sold. Right? This is that count of the items that I sold, but now I have to add it to the record. Right? That's where this is coming from. So returning back to the enter sales for today. It takes as parameter a dictionary where the keys are names of items sold. Say, what do we call it? Mm, items sold dict, maybe. Items sold dict, right? It takes in that dictionary where the keys are names of items sold and the corresponding values of how many of the item. Let me just go ahead and add a note here. Key is item, we'll say item name, and value is number of items sold. That's what's coming in here within the item sold dict. Okay. If an item, so I get this, right? And let's add some pseudocode here because I know it can be very confusing. If an item in the menu doesn't appear in the dictionary, then there are no sales of that item on that day. If the name of any item sold doesn't match the name of any menu item in the dictionary of menu item objects, this method should do nothing except raise invalid sales item error. So what that's saying, right? What that is saying to me is if, let's say my menu items, I sell lemonades, cookies, and water, right? If I did not sell any water, that's okay. There's no issue there. I sell it, it's in my menu, but I didn't sell any today, so nothing to fret about. But what if I sell a hot dog and I don't have any hot dogs in my menu? Then now we have an issue. Somehow, somewhere, someone sold a hot dog that should not be in my stand. So I need to raise an error. Right? So that's what this is saying. If the name of any item sold doesn't match the name of any menu item in the dictionary of menu item objects, this method should do nothing except raise an invalid sales item error. So I need to loop through items sold dict to check each item. And as I'm grabbing each item, check if the item exists in my self.menu. If it doesn't exist, raise invalid sales item error. Else, what I do? Otherwise, it should create a new sales for day object using the current day and the dictionary that was passed in, right? New menu item. And add that object to the list of sales for day objects and then increment the current day by 1. So if there's nothing wrong with my sales record, everything that's sold does exist. In that case, I'm going to create a new sales for day object using current day and items sold dict. And finally, add the object to the list of sales for day objects, which is sales record, list of sales for day objects, right? I know that because of my notes, right? I have to add that to the list of sales for day objects, which is my sales record. Finally, increment day or current day by 1. So I have any questions on what this is asking of me? All right. Well, now that I've dissected this problem, let's add some code. Right. This should kind of keep me on the right track as I go through this. So for the first step, I have to loop through the item sold dict. So I'm gonna say for items sold in items sold dict. I have to check if the item exists in my self.menu. If items sold in self._menu, then I should be good, right? I don't have to do anything. If it does exist in my menu, then I don't have to worry right now. What I'm really looking for is if it's not in my menu. If it's not in self._menu, I need to raise invalid sales item error, which I have not defined yet. Let's go ahead and define that real quick. If it doesn't exist, raise the invalid sales item error. Let's say I iterate through the entire item sold dictionary. Everything checks out. There's not a single item that I sold that was not in my menu. So I'm good. In that case, after this for loop is done checking everything, I'm going to create a new sales for day object is equal to. Oh, I'm getting an issue here because I don't have the class for sales for day. So let's go ahead and import that. From sales for day, import sales for day. There we go. And then how do I create this? Well, I can either check my sales for day class. It takes the number of days and the sales date. Or I have my notes here. Using the current day and item sold date. So I'm gonna say sales dot current day and items sold date. Finally, I'm gonna add the object to the list of sales per day objects, which is this self dot sales record dot append because it's a list. So to add something to a list, we need a append. New sales per day object. And last but not least, let's increase current day by 1. Any questions? Okay. Give me a second. My battery is low. All right. Next is going to be sells a menu item for day. Stand by. I'm sorry. Gotta do some.
You're muted. You're still muted.
Thank
Roger.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So the sells a menu item for day. We're going to take as a parameter an integer representing a particular day, right? So essentially, we want to create a method that's going to show me how much I sold of a menu item in a particular day, right? I want to take in an integer that's representing a particular day, let's say day 15, right? And then the name of the menu item, let's say cookies. It's going to return to me the number of that item sold on that day. This method will use the given day to find the corresponding sales for the object in the list and then call. So let's take it one step at a time. I need to take in particular day, name of menu item, right? So I have a particular day in the name of the menu item. Well, where is my cells located at? Well, my sales record is here. This list is tracking all these sales for day objects. The sales for day objects is organized by the specific day and by the dictionary of what was sold that day, right? Back to the analogy of a ledger, right? Let's say Daniel wanted to know, hey, Roger, how much of cookies did you sell on day 15? My sales record, which is my ledger, I'm going to navigate to day 15, and then he told me he wants to know the cookies. So with that in mind, I'm going to look through my sales record and find the cookies. Right? That's kind of what we're doing here. So if I want to access all these sales for their objects, I'm going to have to iterate through it, right? Because it's a list. It's a list of a bunch of sales records. So I'm going to say for sales records and self.sales record. That's going to give me access to every single day and what was sold that day, right? And it's structured with objects, right? It's a list of sales per day objects. So I need to check on that sales per day. When I get an object, I need to check the day. And if it matches the day that Daniel asked for me, let's say 15, then and only then am I going to access the dictionary, right? I don't care for this object if it's not the day that I'm looking for. So I should say if sales records dot get day is equal to particular day. I think that's my method. Yeah, get day. If it's equal to the day that I'm being asked of, then I want to grab uh the list of the cells. This method will use the given day to find the corresponding cell for the object in the list, and then call its get cell stick method to get the dictionary itself for that date. It will then look for the item name in the dictionary. So after I find the cells object, I want to go through my dictionary of cells, right? My dictionary of cells, the cells dictionary in a cells for the object. And it's structured with a name of an item, and the value is the numbers of items sold. So I want to grab that item. So I'm going to say total items sold is equal to sales records dot get sales. How do you do it? Get sales stick. I'm grabbing the dictionary, and I'm using the get method. Actually, let's do it one line at a time. This is going to confuse you guys. If I find it, I'm going to say sales for particular day is equal to sales records dot get sales dict. Right? I'm going to grab the sales record first, and I'm going to assign it to a variable. I'm doing this very deliberately so you can see what I'm doing. Right? If the object that I'm iterating through is equal to the day that I'm looking for, in that case, I'm going to grab the sales dictionary for that day. And then I'm going to look through the dictionary. I'm going to say total sales is equal to sales for particular day dot get. I'm going to grab name of menu item or return 0 in the event that there is nothing there. Let's look at, make sure we're doing what it wants from us. This method will use a given day to find the corresponding cells for the object in the list, and then call its get cells dict method to get the dictionary cell for that date. It will then look for the item name in the dictionary, just like we did, taking into account that if an item in the menu doesn't appear in the dictionary, then there are no cells for that item on that date. All right. So as right now, I can just say 0. If it wants something specific later on, then we'll do it But here, this is either going to return to me total sales or 0. So I'm going to return total sales. If I sold 5 items, total sales is going to equal to 5. And the event, it doesn't find it in there. We have it set for it to return 0 to me. So that way I still have some kind of value I can use. Make sense? Doesn't say anything else. I think, and this is just me cheating, I think the test wants you to return a string that says something like no sales for that day. I don't want to cheat, but
Yeah, no, you'll fail the test unless you have that very specific string that's not in the instructions.
yeah. Uh, Here it is. It's gonna look for no information found for that day. So it's looking for something like that, right? Um, but yeah, we'll keep it like this for now. But notice that what I'm doing here is right, right? But the test is testing me for a string. It wants me to return a string where I'm returning no sales for that day, right? No information found for that day. Um, but yeah, just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. But it's okay. I'll keep it like this for now, and then once we encounter that issue, I'll take care of it. All right. So that's sales and menu item for day. Let's look at total sales for menu item. Define total sales for menu item. This is going to take as a parameter the name of a menu item. Name of menu item. And returns the total numbers of that item sold over the history of the stand. This method can make use of the sales for menu for day, right? We can take use of a previous method that we just created within here. Because that's the reason of using classes and objects or functions in general, right? We don't want to repeat ourselves. If we already have a method that's going to return to us a total sale of a specific menu item each day, then we can use that, right? So with that in mind, let's use it. Total sales for a menu item, that means I want to know how many of lemonade I sold for every single day that has been open, right? So I'm going to say total sales is equal to 0. And I'm going to iterate through my entire record of sales to grab every sales per day object. I'm going to say for sales record and self.sales record. I'm going to use total sales plus equals sales of menu item. Per day. We're going to pass in sales record dot get day and the name of the item. All right. So what am I doing here? Right. As I iterate through every single record in sales record, I'm going to increase the count of my total sales variable by whatever comes back from this method here. Notice I'm using the self command. I'm saying self dot sales of menu item for day. Why am I using self here? Why don't I just call the name of this? Who can explain that? Well, because this function is declared inside of the class, if I want to use it as well inside of the class, I need to specify, hey, call the class that you have inside of you and use it, right? I have to use it this way because this is the class this method belongs to, which is itself. And it's being ran within itself, right? So you need to use a self keyword whenever you try to use a method that you define within the same class. As we see here, it takes particular day. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab the day for each one and pass in name a menu item, and it's gonna increase it to this. Well, it should be good for now. Total sales per menu item. Next is gonna be total profit per menu item. Total profit for menu item is going to take as a parameter the name of the menu item, so name of menu item, and returns the total profit on that item over the history of the stand. So this is actually fairly simple. Here is the name of my menu item. Where is my menu item at? It's inside of menu, right? My menu is holding the name of the menu item as a key and the value as the object itself. So I can use that to my advantage to grab what is its wholesale cost or selling cost, right? So I want to look for the total profit on that item. So I'm going to say profit per item is equal to self dot menu, name of menu item dot get. Oh, I'm doing this wrong. Dot get name of menu item. I'm accessing this dictionary using the get method. The get method takes in the name or the key, right? The key of the dictionary is going to return to me the value. We used that earlier already, right here. So I'm going to grab the key value pair in here by passing the name because I know that's how it's structured, right? My menu has a key that's the name of the menu item. So I'm going to pass that in there as a key. And it's going to grab it for me. So I know, let's actually not call it profit. Let's call it menu item object. It's misleading. This is going to grab me that object. And now that I got the object, I want to make sure I know what the wholesale cost is. By saying menu item object dot get wholesale cost. Selling price is equal to menu item object dot get selling price. And then once I get that, I'm gonna say profit per item is equal to the wholesale cost. Or actually it would be selling price. Selling price minus wholesale cost. Right? So that gives me the profit per item. And now that I have the profit per item, I need to make sure I have the profit for all the days. Right? I want to see how many times I sold this item. And I can use this function right here, total sales per menu item. Like I say, total sales is equal to self.total sales per menu item. I'm going to pass in, it takes the name of the menu item. So name of menu item. And I can say total profit of item is equal to profit per item times total sales. And then return total profit of item. You guys get something similar to this?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Lastly, the total profit for stand. It's going to take no parameters. It's going to return the total profit on all items sold over the history of the stand. this method can make use of total profit for menu item. So I want to go through every single menu item I have and check the total profit I have for that menu item. So I'm gonna say for item in self.menu. I'm gonna say total profit is equal to 0. As I grab each item, I'm gonna say total profit plus equals self dot total profit for menu item. And this takes the name of the item. So I'm gonna say item dot get name. Finally, return total profit. Right, because self.menu is a dictionary of key value pairs where the key is the name of the item and the value is the object itself. So when I iterate through it, I should have access to each object. So that means I can use the methods that these objects have by saying item.getName. And the name is what the total profit per menu item method takes. That's going to return to me how much profit I made for that specific item. And I'm going to add it to my total profit. And that for loop is going to make sure that we get every single item within our menu. Finally, return total profit. All right. Let's go ahead and try our test. I should fail only one. I'm just fixing my imports here so it has access to these methods. And I should be good. Let's try to run this unit test. And I got one issue, I believe. Oh, shoot. Okay. I got 3 errors. Errors. Cannot access the local variable cells for a particular date. All right, this is good. We can debug together. Let's check the first one. Test for cells of menu item. That's on my LemonadeStand.
Roger, I'm not sure if you imported the cells for today.
That's a good question. Hope that's the issue. I don't think it's gonna be an issue. Import cell for day. Let's try it anyways. I'm still getting issues. Okay. We have 3 errors. Okay, that's okay. Cells of menu item. Of menu item for day. Okay. Cells of menu item for day. I'm getting an issue here. Cannot access local variable cells for particular day where it is not associated with the value. I think I know why. Cells of menu item for day 1. Chips. Oh, okay. So it doesn't exist. Cells for a particular day get name of menu item. It's trying to use my method I created Notice that it passes in a day of 1. Right, but we only added 1 day, which is day 0. Right, so when it tries to access a specific other day, it won't find it, so it's gonna get an issue. Right? So I'm gonna loop through the sales record. If it's equal to the particular day, this is a dictionary. So I'm gonna say else return no information for that day. There we go. And we're gonna move this here. Where it's trying to access a dictionary, which should work if we find the date. But as you saw in the test, they're using a day that doesn't exist because they only added day 0. Right, day 0, which is not good. Because it's going to try to access a day that does not exist and use a dictionary that does not exist. Let's see if that fixes that error. And it did. There we go. So the issue there was because I didn't add something to check. In the event, the day that we were trying to access did not exist. But now we have it set up here, where if it doesn't, right, if this fails to get the day, because the day doesn't exist, then we return no information found for that day. Too easy. Cool. We talked about that too. I don't know if you guys remember when I was going through it. Next is I'm getting an issue here where I'm trying to multiply profit per item times the total sales, but it can't multiply a float and a none type, right? And this is coming from my total profit for menu item. Total profit for menu item. So here, profit per item multiplied by total sales, it doesn't work. So we have to handle what happens if that item does not exist, because one of these is coming back as none, right? And actually, let's try to print out. Let's see how that works. Print profit per item. I want to see which one it is none. Total sales. Because one of these is none and the other one is a float. And that's not good. So I run this. And here you have it. The profit per item, it's printed out. It's a weird number. But there is one that's none, which is total sales. So somewhere, the total sales is coming down to 0. Right, total sales for menu item. Total sales per menu item. One of these is none. Total sales is trying to run Pop-Tarts. Right, I see here it invokes the Pop-Tart in the total profit per menu item, and it fails. When I look at this exercise or this test, line 50, it tries to grab the total sales for Pop-Tart, which is supposed to be good. It's there. Anyone see something I don't see? let's see. We take a name of menu item. We want to grab the total profit for the menu item. So to grab the total profit, we need to be able to grab the. I have a return here, Dominic. Return total profit of item. So we grab the item from the dictionary using the get method.
He's talking about the function just above this one, total sales for menu item.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. You're absolutely correct. Oopsies. Let's try it again. There we go. We're passing that one out. Good, good. Small mistakes. Now we have one more error. Let me get rid of these print statements because they're going to drive me crazy. I'm sick, my friends. That's my excuse. We're failing the second to last test. Total profit for stand. Object has no attribute get name.
Ooh, sounds like a typo.
Object has no attribute get name.
When you iterate over it, it just gives you the key as a string. So I don't think you need the get name.
Dot values. No. Yeah, dot values should be fine. Let's try it out. Boom. Thank you for that. Yeah, you guys were right. Iterate through, it gave me the keys by default, which I know that, by the way. Jesus Christ, I teach that. I'm just so sick. But yeah, here we go. We got it. It's working. Do I got any questions? All right. Time is 7:58. We're gonna go on a 10-minute break. And for the remainder of today's class, the only thing we're going to work on is going to be this. So in the FOP channel, I dropped a exercise for a Dungeons and Dragons battle game, right? We have a couple classes. We're gonna have a character class, an enemy class, a dice class, and a game class. Right, the character and the enemy class are pretty straightforward. They're fairly similar, right? They have certain attributes, which is your data attributes, your data members, right? Name, health, attack, power, and defense. And they should have a couple methods. Attacking, so you have to pass in the target and the dice. Right, when you pass in the dice and you use the attack method, it should roll the dice. Right. Notice that the dice class has a method called roll. Right, depending on what your role is, we're going to attack. We have a couple methods: take damage, which reduces the health based on the incoming attack, and is alive, which checks if the character is still alive. Right, so that should just check the health if it's greater than 0 or not. Right, and we should have something fairly similar to the enemy class. They're pretty much the same thing. Right, we have an enemy and a character. If you want, and you want to have a stretch goal, try to use inheritance. See how you can get it to work. So you create one character class, and then you inherit from it so you can create enemy and the hero. The dice class has size, default 20 for D&D rolls. And the method is going to be a roll, right? It's going to return to you a random number between 1 and the number of sides. The game class should put all these together and have a playable game. We have attributes like player, enemy, and dice. This should instantiate a player, enemy, and dice whenever you run this. We have a couple methods like battle round, handles a round where player and enemy attack each other. a start, which runs the round until one character dies, and a declare method, which displays the results of the game. If you want some additional mechanics like critical hits, healing potions, or multiple other enemies would be nice too. Do I have any questions? Awesome.